My answer is no, as visible from the popularity of the, I'm not saying computer science is not necessary, but now, as much as computer science is seen to be popular, there must be a wave of popularity for VLSI, electronics, these types of courses. Now, because when students get into such programs, then short term, medium term, long term, there is enough appetite for the industry. As you rightly said, you absorb students at all levels, you're not going to differentiate. So I still don't see many of the institutions. There are a few institutions, handful of them, who have caught that moment and felt, yes, the time has come, and latched on to the opportunity. For example, at Shastra, we have built a strategic partnership even before the ISM came, even before AICT started the VLSA BTech. We started the MTech in 1999. But now, because of this trend, Tata Electronics, 1+1, Taiwan, 1 year here, 1 year in Taiwan. They get some of the best experience in TSRI, work in high-end projects, come back and join Tata Electronics. Well, this is happening in an isolated case. So we need many such models of engagement for which the industry has to also think beyond the conventional types of institutions. Now, why was ITES successful? Because it scaled up. And much of the scaling happened from students outside the orbit of the premier institution. So likewise, the demand now is so much that the progress has to happen from all types of institutions, and industry has to be mindful of that. So to cut the long story short, popularity will come with no invitation and leave with no farewell. So we have to realize that this time has come for us to latch on to that courses, because if we miss the time, then it is gone. There is no point studying VLSA after 15 years when a lot of things would have just gone overboard. So the time has come. Education institutions have to be sensitized to this moment. That's the role of the industry. First, sensitization and then capacity building.
Thank you. And this is very interesting perspective and resonate very well with me. Many times we discuss that, hey, around 30 years back, we used to make fixed function hardwares, which does a very certain job, nothing beyond that. Okay, good. Somebody had an objection on that topic, maybe. After that, we started building programmable hardware, and we created a community called software. It started booming, but guess what? You need a hardware to run your software. And nowadays, the workloads are so distributed, the workload is the hardware you create for hyperscaler is not going to fit in your wearable watch what you are doing. You need a different architecture, you need a different VLSI, different transistors, as well as hardware-software co-optimization to achieve that. So definitely, I buy your perspective on that definitely we need to connect more and bring those perspectives and create curated course on that. With that, I'll move to Dr. Sitaram, who got a 30,000 feet view of the entire country. We heard from 2 institutes. Sir, we would like to know from you what AICT is doing across the entire country, across various tier of schools, and what are the different programs they are bringing in to bridge the gap.
Namaskar. Thank you very much. And I'm very happy to be part of this panel where all the experts, in semiconductor are sitting and listening to the chairman AICT. Let me give you an idea of what we have done in the last few years and then give me my perspective of the whole issue. AICT role in boosting the semiconductor industry, what we have done is we have actually started many new diploma program, UG program and PG program in the country. The numbers are mind-boggling. So UG program, there are more than 300 plus institutions have started an UG program in VLSI. So it is not easy to just start a program because you have to understand the process we went through. To make India a semiconductor with an expertise, AICT has launched 2 new courses, Diploma in Integrated Circuit, IC Manufacturing, and BTech or BE Electronics in VLSI Designing Technology. So these 2 courses, actually we have developed a curriculum with all the experts, industry experts, and once we have done that experts, some of them expressed, no, this is not complete. They came late actually. But still we went through again one round had a discussion with them, and then we have modified. Now the complete acceptable curriculum is there in front of us, and this is even, I'm very happy to tell you, even IITs are adopting AICTE model curriculum. But I have to also accept that this model curriculum, there was a contribution of faculty from IIT, NIT, as well as top industry experts. Second point, AICTE has also introduced courses in semiconductors, particularly VLSI designing and IC integrated chip manufacturing in a diploma level. This is we are also looking at a little higher level, that semiconductor management, silicon chemical extraction, among other, to produce the skilled professionals who can contribute to the manufacturing of microchips. So we have also conducted Inventors Challenge with AICTE and along with ARM India Education and ST Microelectronics. Organized actually 2 editions of the contest called Investors Challenge. It is such a pleasure to actually meet those young people who have contributed to this competition. There is no doubt for the skill in India. And I just wanted to go to today's, newspaper, the top 25 technology consulting and leaders of technologies, 10 of them from India. So that clearly shows there is no dearth of talent of Indian diaspora. Only thing is we need to do that within India. Atmanirbhara is the one issue, we need to address, and we need to make these chips in India. And that's where the challenge comes in. So in this direction, we have also conducted that particularly, in cyber-related activities and chips, our own chips developing, Kavach, along with BPR&D, the national level hackathon was also held, and we are continuously engaging our all institutions in the Institute Innovation Council activities for entrepreneurial startup activities, where these actually initiatives empower individuals to commercialize their innovative ideas and technologies, thereby fostering the growth of semiconductor system. I would like to give you the numbers. Unlike the IITs and NITs, about 35 or 45,000 students graduate every year. But AICT institutions, we have close to about 1.2 million engineers graduate across the board. And that's the number. Scaling is also very important. And these students are not very bad, I'm telling you. They are excellent, actually. Because you can see the success of Chandrayaan and Aditya L1 very clearly shows these are the products of these 2nd and 3rd grade engineering colleges who are made. And sometime I will also ask the audience and others to ask themselves, where did they graduate from? Majority of them would have graduated from AICTE 2nd and 3rd grade engineering colleges. So because the numbers scaling is such a lot. So what we would like to do in the future, initiatives what we have taken to popularize both the UG program and PG programs in VLSI, we would also try through our Atal Academy, that is AICTE Teaching and Learning Academy, to announce large number of faculty development programs of 1 week duration or 2 week duration within the domain of VLSI and semiconductor. This is where we need the help of the industry to come in to help the AICT institutions to develop the expertise in the subject domain, and shall be fully funded by AICT. AICT is ready to put in money, and we want you to participate. AICT, in collaboration of Semiconductor Laboratory as well as CDAC, we are already starting one set of faculty development programs, or what we call master trainers, soon. I just launched 2 days back at Bangalore, in CDAC, one set of trainers in this area. So along with Mohali, that CL Mohali, we would like to conduct various training programs for faculty development, and also an advanced FPP titled VLSI to System Design, Silicon to End Application Approach is scheduled actually once again, which we did last year in the month of August, along with ST Microelectronics. More than 5,000 already trained, and we would like to repeat that exercise of doubling that number. AICT received also a proposal from NITR. All the National Institute of Teachers, technical teachers training are also planning to, because some of them are very good. particularly NITA Chandigarh has an expertise in this area. They are going to also train the lab instructors. That's also very important for us. It is not just the high-end BTech and MTech level. So on the topic of IC manufacture. So planning, we would like to also take this dialogue to school children, CBSE. We had a meeting with CBSE people to include more modules on material science and semiconductors so that the aspirants, the young students, would know about when they are in the school itself. When they come to higher classes, they will choose this option. So in addition to this, the semiconductor domain also requires manpower and expertise in material science and chemical engineering. That's where we are trying to focus the research part and innovation, research and innovation part. AICT is putting some funds to allocate to AICT institutions to develop research. We wanted to actually collaborative research among institutions and also from different departments. We are actually putting up in 12 areas, and one area is also semiconductor, where we are putting money into it. And regarding startups, last week, Honorable Minister for Education launched the AICTE and Ministry of Education Investors Meet, wherein almost 70 investors have come forward to invest in the startups. So these are basically ventures, venture supporters. So I think, there are enough steps we have taken, and we need to now, make that more aggressive and active so that these graduates and the students who are taking these school courses are trained to practical applications. So we would like to tie up with industry. So we encourage you also to handheld with AICTE. We have a large pool of talent, across the country. There is no dearth for talent, but we need to make them refined. So this is where AICTE is going to play a major role. I'm very happy to tell you, a lot of MOUs are also we are signing with international companies. This skilling is going to be also made a lot of policy changes in colleges and the universities where there will be a little bit of flexibility to adopt skilling courses in the curriculum. That what I meant is just like SWAYAM courses can be taken self-learning and get a credit. Similarly, skill-based courses, micro credits, can be also accumulated and covered as part of the academic curriculum. I think that there is a great future for semiconductor skill in India. India could be a leader, and I think all of your efforts jointly with educational institutions and regulators would see that day coming very fast. We don't need to wait too long. Thank you. I'll stop here.
Thank you, sir. And it is very encouraging to see that it is not only the top tier, but you are looking at all the way up to the diploma level to create the courses which can really serve the industry. And actually, if you look at it, right, in the industry, it is not that always you will be needing PhDs to solve certain problems. You need the good distribution over there, and great to see that AICTE is working towards that. So with that, we all heard from the Indian industry and academia thinks about it. Time to take an outside-in view of this entire problem. So first, I'll go to Carol, who is actually part of Bangkok University, and I wanted to hear your views on this. And Carol, very interestingly, he was raised in Belgium. After that, he moved to Bangkok, and for the last 30 years, he has been there. So you have seen that what Thailand is changing, as well as what European Union is also changing. So Carol, we wanted to get your views on this topic.
Okay. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. As you mentioned, I was raised in Belgium, but I went to Bangkok, and then the reason why I'm still there is that I fell in love with a local, and I married her actually, so that probably explains it. Now, if I want to talk about what's going on in chip design in Thailand, it's when I arrived there 30 years ago, there was a big manufacturing plant from what was then Philips Semiconductors, which is now NXP. That big manufacturing plant is still there. And 30 years ago, Thailand was mainly a manufacturing country. They had very skilled workers compared to America or Europe. those skilled workers, they could have them at a lower cost actually. So it was mainly a manufacturing society. Now, about 15 years ago, they said, look, we want to change that. And then they started with the digital economy. But I have to say that on chip design, they have been lacking a bit, actually. Now, what happened 25 years ago, actually, they said, look, we're manufacturing chips, but we should also develop chips in Thailand. And then they actually signed a partnership between the National Research Center in Thailand and IMEC in Belgium, coincidentally in Belgium. IMEC, which is one of the leading research facilities in Europe, which grew out of the Catholic University of Leuven, actually. So what they did, they sent a lot of Thai talent to do PhDs in Belgium, actually. They even made a small chip manufacturing plant, and they said, like, look, we want to do that, but that's 25 years ago, and I have to say, 25 years later, they're still in that stadium. It's like they do offer courses in chip design, but most of those chip designers end up in the National Research Center, and there is not really a link with the industry. So I'll have to say I was very impressed this morning to learn about what India is doing, because I mean the impression we have about India is mainly like India is IT, software design, computer. And then like for example, like 10 years ago or 15 years ago, it's like, look, but what about hardware, chip design? And I still thought India was lagging back, but what I've seen now, and I think that's what Thailand hasn't been doing, is that here the politics, and I think you're very lucky that you have a minister who is a chip designer actually, and if politics is involved and can push that, I think it really helps. And I think that that's what Thailand has not been doing, actually. I mean, they've been talking about it, but there's not really a driving force to do it. Because I also met land is being made available, facilities are being made available, and that is not happening in Thailand, actually. And I think that's where the discrepancy is, actually. Now, I also have to say, like, also the collaboration between academia and industry, it's also a bit of a problem in Thailand. It's like because I'm heading a small research group and most of our funding is from the government and we try to get it from the industry, but it's extremely difficult actually. I think maybe a point where that could be enhanced, perhaps also in India, is that if companies would offer internships and that students would go to those internships and that those internships would be part of their senior project, I think that might help a link on that. That's what, at least that's my opinion.
No, thank you, Dr. Carroll. And you have actually observed it correctly. In India, now government, academia, industry, they join hand, and that's how they are driving the charter together. So in many other places, even olden days also, it was disjoint effort. But now it is a combined effort, and that's how bringing the result. So with that, I'll go to my another panelist who came all the way from Moscow. And very interestingly, before panel, when we synced up, we figured out that we worked together 18 years back, and we were not aware of that we worked together in same company 18 years back. So Alexander, you are creating drones, compilers, and you are doing electronic design automation. So these are all niche fields. So what was your journey in Russia? And also I wanted, from my past trip in Moscow, that there is a lot of physicists and a lot of mathematicians. There was no direct course like what Dr. Sitaram just talked about, that diploma in VLSI, or let's say BTech in VLSI like that. So what was your journey? How are you recruiting people? And how are you collaborating with academia for research?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, organizers and my friends, for inviting for such a great event like this. First of all, a little bit history. And during my 35 years career, I had a deal with many Indian guys. As my first, Intel has bought my startups 2 times. And first time it was mid of, it was about 2004, 2007, and I was a head of compiler lab at Intel in Moscow, and in India it was only one developer here. In 2016, Intel has my second startup, and we in this startup we had a CEO, Indian person, and a lot of Indian engineers. And in compiler, in Intel compiler lab, key managers were India guys. So I think that it's amazing evolution of your ecosystem, of course, and this is the result of this evolution. As for our, if we say about the essence of this topic, all parts of ecosystem is very important. It's industry, academia, venture business, and so on. Because without huge projects, you can't teach people properly, and these people don't have the proper engagement. So, as for Indian perspective, I think that you should start and promote big projects. For example, some proprietary software and hardware tools, and I think that will allow you to be the number one in the world in the industry. For example, we in Russia we have a leg on silicon fabs and so on, but now we decided to concentrate on the top-notch software solutions which are now being developed in all of the world, and which has no final solutions. Like, for example, it's a very difficult market for physical design automation tools, because dominates some companies like Synopsys, Cadence, Metal Graphics. But if you say about such design automation areas like compilers, like IP blocks, like, for example, design automation tools, system level, yes, some language descriptions and so on. And these areas are open for new innovations, for new results, and for new businesses, and so on. So I think that we in Russia, in close collaboration with our business, trying to do this, to explore this strategy. So to start and develop from the point of these technologies which are not, don't have close solutions. And why I am here, besides this great event, and we have found here very good partners which are thinking like we, and we are going to start close collaboration in the area, first of all, in the area electronic automation tools, system, and logical level. So I think that what in general I wanted to say.
Thank you, Alexander. I see there are a lot of students in the auditorium. So I'll ask all the panelists one by one. If you need to give one short and sweet suggestion to the students for the future of India and the future of semiconductor, what it will be. I'll first go to Dr. Sitaram. Sir, what will be your suggestion to all the aspiring students over here?
With your kind permission, I want to just share one point which one of your panelists highlighted.
Sure.
AICTE internship portal has 75,000 companies and 2 crore students are on the portal. They can choose, and they are getting a semester-long internship. And AICTE also has made a policy, 1 semester-long internship. And I think there are a lot of students who would like to do. Even in semiconductor, there are already companies lined up on our portal. That is number 1. Number 2, See, there is also, I would actually seek the industry experts to come forward to support, to procure domain-related software related to semiconductor, so that we can train these students in relevant softwares as well as the facility creation. We are also ready to put in money. So we wanted to create a fab facilities for our students. At least, if not the industry grade, teaching fabs could be set up in the country when we talk about training 20,000 students every year in semiconductor and VLSI. These are the 2 points I would like to actually seek the support of all of you, particularly from those who are from industry and those who are also listening to me. Kindly come forward. We are there to help you. We are also putting equal amount more money from the government to start these programs. That is number one. To come back to the students, last word is, I would like to tell, skilling is the key. Please get skilled yourself while you are in the college, not after graduating. No industry will spend money now on you to train you. You have to be trained and ready to go for a job. That's my message. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you, Dr. Sitaram. Dr. Carroll, what will be your guidance to the students?
Well, I think it's important to pursue your dreams, but I think you should also not be too over-ambitious. I mean, keep it within reason, actually. And I think the most important thing, I think even more important than intellectual baggage, is that you're motivated and really want to go for it. And I think, like the minister said, I think you're in a time that's unique now. I mean, because when we started, chip design was in its infancy, actually. No one really knew where it was going to, but I think it has very much matured now. There is a very secure future if you get into it. And I would just say, like, if you're interested in it, go for it and put in the effort.
Thank you, Carol. Alexander, what will be your suggestion?
As for students, I advise, for example, from our experience, I represent here not only my company, but our leading engineering institute. It's Moscow Institute of Physics and Technology. And we have a practice when students from the third year, at the beginning of the third year of education, already start to teach and work inside big and famous IT and other companies, aviation companies, space companies, and so on. And I think that this early specialization allows people, allows students at the end of education have not only formal education but already specialization, which gives you huge opportunities in future. So I think that I encourage you to find your engagement as early as possible, using your infrastructure and maybe all over the world.
Thank you. Now let's move to the man who is dealing with the students on the
May I weigh in on that a bit? I think he raised a good point. I think it's also important to gain some experience in the industry. So even if you have the chance to do a summer internship or something, even preferably abroad, if you can find some funding or you fund yourself, I think that's only highly recommended to do.
No, absolutely, Carol. This is important. And by the way, Dr. Sitaram also talked about it, that there is a huge amount of internship program within the country also. So if you are a good aspirant, you don't need to go outside of the country. In country itself, there is a lot more opportunity lies, but that definitely add a lot to your resume. So with that, we'll go to the man who is dealing with students day in, day out. What will be your suggestion to them?
So my parting suggestion is, as much as the world and the youth of India take pride in realizing the fact that we are the world's intellectual software capital, a time will come in the future where you will take pride in saying that we are the world's intellectual chip capital. So the time has come, and ideas whose time has come has to be fully converted into an opportunity, and that is entirely your responsibility as much as the supporting ecosystem's responsibility is. Because right now, TSMC believes that there is no good semiconductor engineer outside Taiwan. So that must be the confidence with which you should boldly make a statement that the best of the semiconductor industry talent is available in India. The opportunity is there.
Rajiv?
It's going to be very similar to what was just said. So the first thing I want to say to all the young talent that's out there, that believe in yourself is my first thing. Because you are good. What you need is to take the next step, use the platform that is being available to you, to pick a stream that you like, acquire some skills, and then go out in the market. And over the time, you may feel that you like something else. And that's where when Carol said, be a little bit flexible. And that flexibility, along with the belief in yourself, in the system, is going to take you where someday, at a time in your life much earlier than for us, you will be sitting here and talking to the next generation.
Thank you. Dr. Shiva, you had been suggesting all your students now for the rest of the India students.
Yep. So I actually say that there are 3 P's which will actually lead to the 4th P. Passion, patience, and perseverance definitely lead to your product. Okay. So let's actually look at manufacturing perspective, right, rather than a different industry altogether. You can actually become, you can actually innovate a lot.
Thank you. So I am totally, feeling great seeing the amount of positivity this panel brought in. 75 years back, the first transistor was manufactured, which changed the world. And now time to manufacture those transistors out of this country and, generate more new ideas and take it to the new heights. I would like to thank all the panelists for their views and the positivity, sheer amount of positivity bringing in to the forum. And our future is going to be super bright. Thank you.
Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you. Our sincere thanks to all for sharing their valuable insights. Now we would like to felicitate our esteemed guests on the dais. I'd request Shri Deepak Wasan, Executive Director, NIELIT, to kindly do the honors. First, we would like to felicitate our moderator, Sumit Goswami, Senior Director, Engineering, Qualcomm. Thank you so much. We would now felicitate Dr. S. Vaid Subramaniam, Vice Chancellor, Shastra University. Thank you. We would now felicitate Dr. Carol Sturgs, Director, Bangkok University Center of Research. Thank you. We would now felicitate Alexander Drozdov, CEO, Optimizing Technologies, Russia. May I now request you, sir, to kindly felicitate Shri Ruchir Dikshit, Vice President and Country Manager, Siemens EDA. Thank you. We would now felicitate Professor Sivarama Krishna Vanzari, IIT Hyderabad. And finally, we would like to thank you virtually, sir, Professor Dr. T.G. Sitaram, Chairman AICTE, for being a part of this session. Thank you all once again. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now break for lunch and reconvene in half an hour. Okay. So we will have a group photograph of our esteemed guests on the dais, which will help preserve the memory of this event. Thank you. We'll now break for lunch and reconvene after half an hour. I would most humbly request everyone to kindly stick to the schedule, please.
এই ওপৰত আছে কিন্তু এইটো ওপৰত লৈ যাব এইটো সন্মুখত যে আছে ভিৰ লাগি আছে আমি ওপৰত খাই আছোঁ বিৰিয়ানী এই তলৰখন নহয় ওপৰত
check 1 2 check check 1 2 3 check check
এইটো কাৰেণ্টটো পোৱা নাই যে অন হোৱা নাই
आप ना सबको ना पीछे जो scattered बैठे हुए हैं just call them forward in front and call the panelists now.
In just a short while, we'll start with the second session of the day. I would request everybody to kindly be seated, and the students who are sitting back there, I would request you to kindly come forward. There are many empty seats out here, so you can, come forward and take your seats here. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India, I would like to extend a warm welcome to you all to the second session of Digital India Future Skills Summit 2024. The topic for this session is India AI Future Skills, and the session will be moderated by Shweta Khurana, Senior Director, APJ Government Partnerships and Initiatives, Global Government Affairs Group, Intel. And the panelists include Ganesh Mahabala, Director, Strategic Business, South Asia, NVIDIA, Amitabh Nag, CEO, Bhashini, Digital India, Srimati Shivashankar, Corporate VP and Head, ED Business, HCL Technologies, Anuj Jain, Managing Director, Accenture, and Shri Ram Raghavan, Vice President, IBM Research, AI, who will be joining us virtually. I request Srimati Shweta Khurana and our panelists to kindly come forward and take the seats on the dais, please. Pleasure, ma'am. I'd request our audience to kindly come forward. The seats are empty here. You can always come forward and take your seats here. And now I would hand over the session to Shweta Khurana to kindly commence the proceedings, please.
Thank you. All right. So post-lunch sessions are really difficult, not just for you, even for all of us. So maybe I'm going to reiterate the request the MC just made. For those at the back, please do come forward. There are a lot of empty seats up front. All right, so very quickly getting started. I'm going to start by actually sharing a story about a young girl, 17, 18 years old, who's really inspired us in this journey on AI skilling. Her name is Tina Sahu. You can actually Google her up. She has a lot of material online. She learned the AI skills, and I'm talking about 2019, 2020, when national education policy was just being formulated and people were talking about how AI skills should be taken right at the school level. So she created an algorithm which basically tests the onset of depression in her peer students, in her friends, because she thought that that is something which is so important for her at that point in time. And she was studying in a government-aided school. Many of the students were first-generation learners, and she realized that this is something I need to address. So for that, what she did was, there was no data set available, so she actually went and built her own data set. So she went from school to school, 6 schools, she curated her data set, she cleaned it up, she started using it. She learned computer vision. Using the cameras in the classroom, she picked up facial expressions of her peers, and her algorithm could actually move to an accuracy of 84% in detecting whether the child is going to face an onset of depression or not. And this is grade 10th, right? So there are board examinations, a lot of other limitations. And then she learned natural language processing, and she built a chatbot. Her chatbot could actually quiz the child, and she consulted a lot of psychoanalysts, psychologists, counselors to curate that questionnaire, which could then be addressed to the students. And she realized that the students of her generation are far happier sharing the problems with the chatbot, unfortunately, than with the school counselor. So that worked very well. And then the students who were flagged off with early depression, the counselor and the principal was given advance notification to call them and counsel them personally. Now, there are 3 things her story actually inspired us at Intel, right? First is, to become a part of an AI-ready generation, we need students to get access to AI skill sets, which means they obviously need to understand what computer vision, NLP, etc. is all about. They want to understand what Python and R can do for them. But the second and the most important part is, they need to develop an AI mindset. When you talk about an AI mindset, there were a lot of conversations, which I'm sure the panelists would also elaborate on, is all about ethics, privacy concerns, biases. And the third and equally important is access to AI tool sets in a responsible and a sustainable manner. So keeping this in mind, and I'm really happy to share that today, this year, in March 2024, 200,000 children will actually be appearing for their AI examination for class 10th as part of a board exam, which is again, all thanks to the National Education Policy. But the question which I'm going to talk to the panelists about is going to be, how do you convert this 200,000 to maybe 2 million students, or maybe even more, right? Because that's the kind of country we are living in, and that's the demographic advantage we have to take benefits of. So I'm going to ask Anuj the first question, because I also know that he's kind of rushed at this point in time. He has a flight to catch. So Anuj, we recently heard that Accenture has identified 12 new data and AI roles and is looking at reskilling the workforce for these opportunities. Can you share more about this reskilling trajectory and what is your idea about it?
Hello. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really humbled to be part of this STEAM event, and I think the question, it's a great question. So I think Accenture, since last year, has made a significant leap into the AI conversations and the experimentation which has been going on. Our CEO announced about a year ago almost about $3 billion investments, talked about more than 500 plus industry use cases to be out there, and then massive effort to transform the workforce. Accenture has about 750,000 associates across the globe, out of 50% in India. So almost over 350,000 people work for global clients and Indian clients. And it's a mammoth task to basically taking them onto the Gen AI journey, which is going to be pervasive. And I'm going to make one statement here before I answer the question about those 12 roles, because there are a series of announcements, and one of the announcements about the 12 identified roles which Accenture will be focusing on. In the history, for the first time, a technology which is very human-like, which is going to touch the widespread industries, very, very pervasive application to transform the future. So these three elements in this statement, if you really see it, human-like technology, pervasive and transforming future, which is where I think largely every organization or the community widespread will have to really think that what's going to change and what should be our action. When we talk about AI or generative AI, there are three primary tenets, which is actually what organizations are or the governments are really looking to offer here. One is the significant cost takeout. Number two, there is a significant amount of compute which is available, so you can do a lot of processing at a much faster pace. And the third part is, which is creativity, innovation, co-creation, whatsoever, right? These three things. And now, if I tie it back to the job roles, which is what the primary question is, I think that's where we need to look at it. In order to do that, what needs to happen? If I really look at it retrospectively, at one point of time, there was a statement made that data is the engine for analytics, or data is the fuel for business, data is the fuel for analytics. Then also came another statement saying content drive experiences. Both of these, if you really see data and content, essentially is now at an intersection, which is what Gen AI will leverage to really offer whatever the transformation which will be offered by it. And with that, what happens is, every organization now really need to look at their data as the element which will actually drive how you leverage or harness AI. So basically your data foundation has to be available or set in such a way which actually your organization can leverage. Number two, once you have the data foundation or the industry provided, there are about 600 plus or maybe 1,000 plus LLM models which are out there. A lot of organizations offering them. Then you basically take it and customize to your industry specific or domain specific need and tie it to your data. And then finally, once that to happen, then you bring in that how you apply it, which is where your prompt engineering and everything come to play. So in order to do that, in a sense, you require data engineers, data architects, data scientists on one side. Then you require AI strategists, whether functional, industry specific, those needs to come in. You will also require visualization engineers because you have all of that. You need to really paint visualizations so that you can make sense out of it. You'll also require a lot of people, especially on the, when you talk about the entire experience space, the customer services, contact centers and all of that. So you will require people who actually, marketeer who actually can leverage it. And those people are the one who is actually define how the Gen AI can change how the AI interacts with the end customer. And the list goes on, right? I think you can take even the business intelligence engineers and what's not. So I think, I'm not calling out all the 12 roles, but largely these are the couple of roles which organization really said that we need to focus on. And in order to do that, there are 3 layers of the learning programs have been launched, which will be, one is to transform your internal organization, and at the same time, it is also will be available with the partnership with the universities. We have partner program with many of the premier and category 2 institutes, which is what it will be offered. We are already doing it for AI for leaders, AI for technologists, AI for functionals. All those 3 layers of programs has been launched within the organization, and it's coming in a massive way. So I was talking to, prior to this session, to someone, and I said, last year, if it was for experimentation, this year is actually for scale, which is where the applications are happening, and of course, early 2025, this is when you really will start seeing what it is delivered, what are the outcomes it is producing. So I think a very interesting time in next, I would say, I will not even say year, I think easily about 8 to 9 months time frame, you should see a very good perspective about that, how AI can actually change what we are doing.
Thanks, Anuj. There are 2 key takeaways, if I can just kind of address everybody, specifically the students in the room and those who may be watching us online, as those job roles can be very helpful for you to define what are the skill sets you may require. There was a time when all of us used to talk about 21st century skill sets, then it became more computational thinking, then it became, and today we are talking about algorithmic thinking. Also, another aspect which Anuj touched upon was the human-machine interaction or the partnership today, which has become so important and imperative when we speak about AI skilling at large. So moving ahead, Ganesh, my next question is for you. So India has one of the largest developer workforces in the world. How does NVIDIA envision the country's AI skilling roadmap? Tell us more about the initiatives you have and the impact you've seen on the ground.
So let me answer the second part first, the impact, right? So if you look at the landscape today in India, the software developers community is the largest community we have, or the formally developed community we have today, to take the AI-driven innovations, or even to drive the economic performances out of AI. That is the community we need to go and scale them. And the second one is, if you look at today, there are millions of developers available today, already working in various organizations or in the industry. But the second important addition which is happening is from the students community. especially from the higher education, which will drive the nation's economic growth using AI or by implementing AI, as well as we can become the biggest exporters of AI to in the world. So that is the impact which it can have by developing by providing the skilling or reskilling or upskilling. Now, how do we do that in NVIDIA is, we have two strong approaches. One is we have tying up with the industry, which are the IT houses, where we provide them the expertise to develop a curriculum depending on the areas which they want to work. Just to give an example, you might have read our partnership with the two major IT houses in the country, which is TCS and Infosys, which itself houses about 700,000 plus developers. So we are developing core curriculum with them to take the developers into the next level of AI. The second one is the programs which we have for the universities or the institutional bodies, which can go and deliver it to the students. But to meet this economies of scale, the way we deliver this program is we make the faculties first AI aware or to be able to deliver those courses to the students. So we have a program called NVIDIA DLI Ambassador Program, where we go and sign up with the faculties, the institutions to train the faculties first, and then we provide the faculties, enable the faculties with our instructor-led courses, the commercial courses, as well as they get loads of aid to support with the teaching kit. And just give an example, the MOU which we just signed with NIELIT, it is to train about 500 faculties, who in turn can train about 10,000 students in the next 2 years. That's the economies of scale which we need to achieve to train those millions of students and the industry developers. So that's basically how we implement our skills program. And just to add on to that, these are the programs which we deliver is the same program which we use internally for our engineers. Now, when our CEO Jensen was here in September 23, he mentioned that the 1/3 of our developer force which is sitting in India, each one of them will be enabled on AI. This is the same courseware, same content which we'll be giving to the faculties for the industry or to the students. So they become industry-ready AI developers.
Thank you. And interestingly, from definition of job roles, you've kind of elaborated the kind of programs you have. And what's also equally interesting is that the programs or the content and curriculum which you're taking for the current workforce at NVIDIA is a similar one to what you're transacting for the future workforce through NIELIT. That actually kind of weaves into another component of this entire learning curve. And Srimati, my next question is for you. We've seen the edtech industry really evolve from a learner standpoint. I mean, from many to one to one-to-one to personalized learning, etc., right? What is your vision and what do you think? How can the current talent pool plus the future workforce can really be developed so that they become future ready, or as we call it, AI ready?
Thank you, Shweta. I'm not going to answer that question.
No worries.
Because I'm behaving like an AI now, right? Because this is what is going to happen in future. You try to ask some question, it's going to twist your question. It's going to ask you millions of questions. And especially after eating rice with curd and the local, what is the sweet today? Rasgulla. I don't think any of us as humans will be predictive. That's why you need AI to complement you, because it's not going to really understand what rice and curd can do in your tummy, right? Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. We hallucinate, and I'm sure a lot of people in the back seats are levitating already, but these are some things we really can't. Let's just go back to your question. So I'm just going to rephrase this a bit. A lot has been talked about skilling today. Skilling, how should people be skilled to manage, to work and adopt AI? I want to put a different twist to it. I think we need to be skilled on how to manage AI. Managing AI is going to be very difficult. I mean, many of the youngsters today can't even manage their managers. I don't know how they're going to start managing AI and engage AI. So imagine, Shweta, you have a new name, okay? You're going to be Ms. ZB, all right? Ms. And Z is like, you've been developed with zillion codes of whatever has come behind you. And then the B stands for, you're the brilliant person, right? The Ms. ZB. So Ms. ZB is my assistant, and I'm Srimati here. And I'm so hungry, and I just ask you, have you been programmed to help me to find out some of the good restaurants, right? And then I say, Mazibi, you know, can you just give me the nearest restaurant, right? Today, of course, many of us just go and open the Google and then it throws everything. Tomorrow, in a busy world, I'm driving. Mazibi is my best friend, right? Mazibi will ask me some 100 questions, right? You are here, your favorite time now, it's 1 p.m. in the afternoon. It is Thursday today, you may be fasting. This may be it's the day after Vasanta Panchami, you've done Saraswati Puja. Will you eat light food, or you really want to, you know, go into some kind of, you're in an area where fish is very famous, but you're a vegetarian. Do you want vegan fish? It's going to ask me a lot of questions. I think we are all going to get very frustrated. We are going to be extremely frustrated. I think the generation Z, whom we see here, right, like a ZB, we're going to have a Gen Z. The Gen Z is going to be most frustrated. Already they are just fixed to their mobile phones. 90% of us are. We pretend we are on social and some media, but we are actually chatting with our friends, right? So we're already here. So I'm just wondering, where is our emotional quotient in this? I think what we have missed out in our entire curriculum is EI for AI. I think that's very important. This is a great time for an intersection of where we want people from the psychologist and psychometric background to work with engineers. The time for the left brain and right brain to come together to decide what should be the curriculum in terms of what do you put into the AI management. How do I manage AI? There are umpty number of tools, technology. Using AI equals common sense. It all depends on how you're going to ask questions. And therefore, I think it's also important for teachers to become cool gurus. They've been into gurukuls, right? So we all want to become cool gurus. Very unfortunate, 99% of the teachers we are running against, you know, getting the examination up. We have to set papers, we have to do a lot of things. Are we in having the capacity and capability to handle this 1,000 questions, which the students will come prepared with in the classroom? And you have to prepare some brilliant questions to them over and above what ChatGPT has already given them. So what are we actually going into in future is very important. So you need cool gurus, you also need an EI for AI, but we will also have impatient youngsters who needs to manage. It's amazing to also understand how all corporates like us, we are pushing ourselves to adopt AI. But have we taken a moment to sit back and say, why are we adopting AI? Is it because we have a peer pressure, or we believe that we cannot live with AI? So what are we getting skilled for? And why are we even getting skilled at this point in time? Is it because we don't know the unknown, or we believe we are in an insecure world? I'm asking you all these questions now because I don't know the answers. But one of you who know the answers may feed this into some generative AI. And you and I tomorrow, when we go and do a prompt engineering, we will get answers. We need to skill people to ask the right questions, Shweta. And I think it's a time right now. Skilling to ask the right questions is going to be one of the future, in my view. And India has always come from a very traditional background. We must get back to our roots. Our roots is all about asking the right questions. And I think we should just get back to our roots. And that's the best way to start doing the AI skilling today.
Thanks. That's an interesting part, specifically because if there's an AI answering, it would possibly say your glucose levels are very high after the Rasagulla, so you need some rest. Okay, so moving into what you said aptly was that we need to get back to our roots and we need to understand and we need to question. So that's another skill what we keep talking about, right? The humans, so the elephant in the room whenever we have AI skilling discussions always is, will we lose our jobs? But the very fact what people don't tend to realize is that you need the right questions. You need humans to ask the right questions for AI to be able to perform more efficiently and effectively going ahead. And when it comes to skilling or best practices, do we have Sriram Raghavan online? No, we don't. We've lost him. Okay. Okay, so he's not online. So we'll move ahead. So my next question to you, Amita, actually comes is, now Digital India has been greatly successful, and we heard in the morning session, in the inaugural session, the minister also talking about it, including the Bhashini and large language models, and, but the challenge of what is new in Digital India, which we can expect, is something we would love to hear your thoughts and vision about. And the second question I would have is, India is a vast country, so not everybody would really require large language learning models, right? How do you would see the generation of the future develop themselves to be able to cater to all the requirements of AI which India would typically have?
Hello. Yeah, so, coming to your first part of the question as, what are we trying to do in Digital India? See, we had a lot of programs in Digital India going from past to current. And some of the programs actually started quite a while back and started from Aadhaar, where we provided the identity. Then it was direct benefit transfer. Then came the UPI. And then came the other programs which were there, which were more or less using and proving to the world that you can use internet to do transactions and service delivery, which was kind of unique in the world, actually. And if you actually look at it, each of these initiatives created an industry of its own. UIDAI created a biometric industry which was non-existent before, and it started new paradigms of how transactions would be done, how digital economy would work. Currently, as of now, what we are doing and we are addressing using AI is the age-old problem of India of diversity in languages. And Bhashini, with the organization which I head, actually uses AI, artificial intelligence, as the underlying technology to create language models which can translate one language to other. And what we do there is, we have almost created 300 AI models, created a platform called National Hub of Language Technology, which render these AI models as services. And then, we are serving the customers using this AI chatbot, AI models of translation. Among the translation, we are also doing automatic speech recognition. That means the computer should recognize what you speak. And we are doing machine translation from one language to other. And then we are doing text to speech. That is, the text could be translated to speech if it is encoded in a particular language. And all we are catering to 22 languages. We are on a journey. So text to text, we do about 22 languages, while on speech, we are at about 12 languages. When we started off this journey, not enough skills were available in AI, so we turned around to research institutes and colleges of the country, and we roped in about 70 colleges in the country. And each one of them was given a certain set of problem. And, I'm just traversing you through the journey because that would, take out what are the skills which are developed, what are the experiences which are there. The research institutes actually were given the tasks which were there. Among the 22 languages, the digital presence of many languages is minuscule or nil, right? And we embarked onto a journey of creating digital data. That means we went onto the field. There were 200 people who were there on the field who collected data from the field, speech data, transcribed the data, translated the data, and gave it to us so that we can train the AI models. And that's a skill which is going to continue. We have challenges with respect to, in India specifically, on the language part of it, where the digital data does not exist. Most of our Indian culture and value systems are still not digitized. there would be digital data which needs to be created and recorded. And there is an organization called Karya which actually goes to the last mile to collect the data. The annotation and labeling of data has started to become an industry by itself. And that is where we are also spending money, and there are other organizations which are spending money to actually create those data points. Then came the question of, the AI models which were created by research institutes. As I said, we have about 300 models. But then came the, transition time when it didn't remain the research subject, it got democratized. And Bhashini as such is, open sourcing most of the models which are there, AI models which are there. And hence, we found, at least many of the 12th class students or 12th class or undergraduate students coming back to us and saying that, hey, we have created a model, it's now about 70% accurate, can you fund the GPUs so that we can take it to the 90%? So training of AI models has now become a work area which can be done on a job basis. So, we are now thinking that can we run a hackathon of saying that here is the data set, please train the models in your own way to increase the accuracy of the model which is there. The important thing which we further did was that we started deploying this on a use cases. And when we started deploying this on a use cases, what we found was that the use cases were to make the society inclusive because we were having speech in our portfolio, and a voice-to-voice communication is actually leading to a situation where you are bridging not only transcending the language divide, but bridging the digital divide and literacy divide also. So you can get the machine to work by speaking, right? Then it has come to a situation where when anything which a person wants to do can be done using a chatbot, where the pipeline of automatic speech recognition, text-to-text translation, and text-to-speech translation can be defined. So there came the ingenuity and the people. There are a lot of people who started working on the situation where they started reimagining the user journey. Reimagining the user journey, for example, a grievance redressal from a point of view of last person on the queue who only knows how to speak and state his point of view. He doesn't know how to read or write, or he doesn't know how to operate a computer. So there we started, this is a completely new area of work which defines the user journey. That means there is definitely a design thinking required. There's a requirement of prompt engineering, because once the voice is captured in a language, it is translated, then it has to be given to a system which will actually give you the answer which is required, and the system will then again speak back. We started reimagining the financial systems. Voice-based payment is something which we have launched, and we have looked at many of the user journeys which have come in. So if you look at all the journeys or learnings which we have till now, and that is, we are still in early days, I would say, we have these many skills which have come up, which are actually now multiplying. Then, of course, this AI services have to be rendered, the platform has to be scaled up, so cloud becomes an important activity. And scaling of cloud is a space which actually would remain, an activity which has to be done, because this is basically a situation where, the load comes on a burst. There are people who are trying to do. And in future, the voice would become a very important activity, because we are leading to an era where people, even Prime Minister had used this system, which was basically, he was speaking in one language and it was getting translated into other language to address the people. There will be a speech technology and audio engineering, speech processing, voice processing is going to be a very important aspect of future skills. So AI is not, it's just, I would say that it is actually increasing the footprint of the skills which we require, along with the numbers, for making the life more predictable and possible. Of course, there are other sides of it, which is responsible AI and ethics part of it, which is requiring another set of activity, guideline, legal and other areas which has to be worked upon. So a lot of things in the exciting futures. It is a question of how our next generation chooses the subject matter and decides to specialize on and, brings in the flavor of AI.
Thank you. Before I can comment on this, I do know Anuj needs to go. So.
Yeah, sorry to intervene. You have to leave, I guess. So we would like to felicitate you, sir, before you leave. And I'd request Dr. Sanjeev Gupta, ED, NIELIT, to kindly come forward and felicitate him before he leaves, sir. Thank you for being a part of this session, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. So, Amitabh, that was a great summing up. And I think what is the interesting perspective, what you've thrown is that, we've been talking about digital literacy and bridging digital literacy all throughout. But here you're talking about bridging AI literacy. For people who are not able to even read and write, are in a position to actually use an algorithm and get their message across to in the public domain, which is fantastic. Right. Are there any questions from the audience for any of our panelists? Anyone? Or do you want some time to think about it? Because then I can ask a question on your behalf. No? No show of hands. All right, so we'll quickly start another. So my question to all of you is here, that we've been talking about skilling, reskilling, upskilling. We've been really talking about how do we skill for the future. But the challenge is, what is the future of work? And I would love to hear your personal opinion on how do you conceptualize what the future of work would look like.
The future of work is going to be more brilliant than what it is today, for sure. And the future of work is going to be something where you cannot replicate what has already been created because it already exists. So you can't reimagine the same way, right? So your capacity to create something new needs to come out of your own sheer intelligence. Whether you're going to use AI or not AI is up to you, right? So we are all going to get even more brilliant. Fortunately, I'll be old. I will not be working anymore. But I'm sure we are going to pass a legacy to the youngsters to also start thinking brilliantly. And therefore, I think the responsibility really starts in schools. So I don't think corporates like us can wait for people to be brought in some shape. And we're trying to actually help them to cope with the changing work dynamics. I think it has to start in school. It's very unfortunate, Shweta, even today, when we see a whole lot of people in the corporates who even have forgotten fundamental of mathematics. And I think some of these things need to get strengthened as part of NEP. So the workplaces are going to be cool. We're going to have AI as friends. We have to be intelligent because we have to beat AI. And the works are going to get very brilliant. The works are going to get original. I think there's going to be more originality on which a lot of recognitions will get built. We will take work to where workers are and not bring the workers to work. There's going to be a flat world, which of course was defined in 2004. And a lot of work is going to be built on hypothesis-based research. And therefore, as humans first, we need to understand how to define hypothesis. So I think we are going to get a lot more brilliant, in my view.
Fantastic. So basically what you're saying is the way we work, the way we function is going to change. Our workplaces have certainly changed after COVID. Most of us are working in a hybrid mode now, and the work tasks are also going to change and become more brilliant. Thank you. What about you?
No, all this while, I think, we are used to imagine an innovation and then program it for an output. I think the future of work is going to be how do we make the machine to program it on our imagination and convert that into an innovation is going to be the challenge. That is one part of the side. The second one is, that is tough, right? If machine has to write your imaginations into a program, or machine writing the software, or machine writing the program, you need loads of computational power on the backside, on the below that, or I call it a computational platform on that side. So we are hearing AI now, we are hearing quantum. So the engineering is going to be the understanding those imaginations and creating the platform for that. I think that is the two kinds of work which will come in the IT as a prominent engineering side of it and the development side of it.
Thanks. That's some great insights on how you conceptualize the future of work. Amitabh, over to you.
Yeah, of course, there are multiple facets to it. One facet is
they get skill. I mean, they get education, right? They get knowledge, but to make them industry ready, it is, I think, all of our responsibility to give them that platform, train them well enough so that they know what's coming towards them when they get into the industry, right? So I think we run something called NIELIT. I mean, we have been running this for about last almost more than 10 years. I think we skilled about more than 1 million students across the country, but that was more towards the networks, securing, operating them. But then if you look at this kind of cybersecurity skills that the country is looking at, I think we need to scale those kind of programs towards specific cybersecurity skilling, right? For academia, for institutes, for students, even for people who have graduated and they're looking for jobs in those areas. Right? I'll give an example of one of the engineering colleges in Mumbai. I'll say it is VJTI actually, right? So the head of the electrical engineering, Dr. Farooq Qazi, he runs a lab, right, which is an incubation lab. Yeah. And he's also the co-chair of Smart Grid Raj. And so he has actually joined hands with all of us, right? I think Siemens, I mean, he's an electrical engineer, right? He brought Siemens, he brought Schneider, he brought Cisco, he bought other security companies, he bought Checkpoint, right? All of them, right? He created a prototype. I will not say it's a prototype, it's basically a sandbox environment where his own students are actually doing this on their own, right? And I am fortunate to say that even at times we go there, right, to demonstrate our capabilities because we don't have enough resources within the organization, but we get a lot of resources from his students, his community there, right? But those are one-off deployments that we have seen, right? While we also do have enough responsibility towards joining hands, investing more into this kind of activities. I think if we can do this and scale it up, not only in urban areas, not also in tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities, in institutions where we can build rapid prototype sandboxing for them. I think this will make most of our young generation, right? India, we are so fortunate to have the youngest population within the world, but I think this is one step, right, can have a quantum leap towards the scaling of cybersecurity in India. Yeah, I think I'll stop here.
Yeah, thank you. And we'll come to now money. IBM, if you take a quantum, you are in a way at a leadership position in terms of what is happening in quantum computing, and also very strong suit of a cybersecurity capability as well, and some product as well as a lot of services basically. So when we juxtapose cybersecurity with emerging technology, and it creates a lot of other possibilities for a skill and job basically. So from the context of emerging tech and cybersecurity coming together, as well as from the context of what IBM has been trying to do to address this challenge, we can dwell into that.
Absolutely. So, as few of the panelists rightly pointed out, right, there is typically a gap of almost like 30K open positions currently in the cyberspace, just from an India point of view. And if you see globally, there are more than 3 million openings, which are available, which is going to scale to almost like
3.5 million in maybe another 1 year or so. And right, as a couple of the panelists also pointed out, it is one of the most fast growing areas according to the World Economic Forum report, right? Cybersecurity is one of the top, one of the top 10, it's in the 6th position if you see, in terms of the skills needed to be cultivated, skills to be developed. So at IBM, we have a multitude of offerings for academia, and particularly we run a program called Skills Build, which is aimed at developing skills right from schools to adult learners to higher education, different kinds. And the courses are across various technologies, right? Cloud, data science, AI, sustainability, and cybersecurity is one of the very important areas that we have an emphasis on, because we understand that it's really important to develop skills on cybersecurity right at the school level, so that because everybody has a mobile today, right? Even kids have a mobile, and hence they are prone to so many kind of cyber attacks, which we see off and on every day. So it's really important to strengthen the skills right at that stage, so that as they grow, they are cognizant of the fact that what kind of attacks happen, right? And so goes for so as these are open opportunities available in industry, right? So we also struggle with a lot of people when it comes to hiring in that space, and hence through these programs, right, the IBM Skills Build offerings, we also make available licensed software, for students to get their hands dirty on, right? So for example, whatever technology, right, you talk about, we offer enterprise-grade licenses for students, for colleges, and that's absolutely at no cost, including access to cloud. IBM Cloud has almost like 200 plus services to use. And besides this, we also have curated programs catering to developing competencies at faculties level, and of course at the student level. So we do, across the year, we do multiple programs which are aimed at, in general skill development, but then more focused on cybersecurity, for that matter. So we run something called as a faculty build-a-thon, right, wherein faculties from different kind of colleges come together. They take cybersecurity is one of the tracks we offer, where we make them learn not just the technology, but when you also give them a mini project to work on, so that they are more hands-on. And that way they can be explaining those concepts better in the classrooms when they go back and talk to their students. And same goes for the students. So so this is kind of and we now with this entire offering being part of IBM CSR, we have a huge network of CSR partners who help us execute it on the ground, right from the remotest village of India to urban population that we have, right? So we basically look to work across all these segments, and particularly in Northeast, right? We are really in a lot of these places, and our collaboration with NIELIT is basically aimed at strengthening that bit. So yeah, to answer your question, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mani, and I'd like to come to Manish. So Manish, 2 years back, blockchain programming was such a hard skill, right? And people are rushing to learn Go or Rust kind of language to be playing role there, and suddenly things probably from the crypto token perspective, a lot of issues happen with that. But from there to now, what we see now, right? So the kind of real applications that you build or many are building basically. So what are the scope that you believe that see in the area of the blockchain programming, let's say?
That's a very valid question. So the crypto wave is gone, and where are we left with? I think the crypto wave was supposed to go from the very start as it was. The technology has been evolving for the last 20, 25 years.
Yeah.
And this crypto wave, what it did was it kind of accelerated the exposure to the term blockchain. While the crypto wave has gone down, I think time and again, governments all across the world and regulators, even in India and abroad, have been very, very supportive of blockchain. They have always said, give me a good application. This is a good technology. Some time back in Davos, our own RBI governor made a statement that this is a good technology, the technology needs to grow, and he almost gave an example of real estate. Not in a sense, but he said that, for example, a large asset which people are not able to participate, blockchain can enable them to logically participate. And these are things that are giving right signals that the government and the regulators are, I mean, this is the same guy who was hands down against crypto, and he's the same guy giving examples very close to what we do. So I think time and again, our honorable minister also, he has also clarified these positions. So blockchain is going to be there. What has happened is the hype has gone. And in fact, in all technologies, when you see the hype cycle goes away, that's when real application, the long-term applications come in. So the traditional, in our space, like I'm in fintech space. So in our space, now the traditional finance will be transforming itself. And I use the word transforming because we are talking about, a lot of new capabilities here with blockchain really coming in. And you need to think very differently. It will not be the same paper pushing that the traditional finance used to do. If I was to explain to students here, in terms of what are we looking at in the future, the past technologies, what it did was, before IT, let's say we had a great thing called flowchart. Simple thing. You create process and things become streamlined. We had drawings, flowchart. Then came IT, and you automated the process. So last so many years and decades, we have been automating processes. What we are looking into the future is automating, logic. And that's, that's fuzzy, as you have fuzzy logic as well. So that's fuzzy, and that's where control and, training logic will become important. Coding will happen. Like standard libraries came in and you saw proliferation of sites and, applications that use standard libraries, and making an application became faster and easier, cheaper. In the same way, I think the coding itself will be available, but what will be required of the younger talent more is to think well, because the coding will happen. Can you think well? In my example, my context, for example, wealth management will change. The way you hold assets will change, where you invest will change. Now, these things will require logic as much as algo trading requires that. Yeah. So if algo trading was something, the future is very different, and it will empower everyone to think differently. Rest will, and everyone becomes empowered with things like chat GPTs and things like that. What will be required with, with blockchain, cyber security, and, and the traditionally what we have been doing, it's a mesh of all that. Things will happen. You need to think well, and you need to control it well.
Yeah, so as we are with you, Manish, what you are saying is very critical. So many skills that we used to do, like coding for that matter, right? So now thinking is more critical compared to coding, because there is a lot of kind of there is called as intent-based computing for that matter. People talk about you have intent computing will happen, coding will happen basically. So so in this paradigm basically, so all those things which historically been seen as a skill, that will be so easily so commodities available to you basically. So in that case, coding may not be the skill here basically. The skill here is basically how do you think about those applications basically. Can you dwell much on that? How do somebody start that basically, right? How do somebody start that process basically? Briefly, we can then come to other side.
So I think that is where it is important that we create, a workforce that is not rote. Is able to think, what will be more important is endpoint controls.
Yeah.
Rest of the codes, etc., will be very optimized.
Yeah.
You will have a lot of solutions. In fact, you need to choose which one. You need to choose the path.
Yeah.
And you need to choose the endpoints.
Yeah.
And we as humans will always control the approvals,
Yeah.
so to say. That probably will not be automated.
Yeah.
And that's where we have to also ensure that all the cyber security, etc., gets deployed so that the control is really in control. So
Yeah.
I think logical thinking you know, and probably as some of the earlier panelists said, psychology, etc., blending in. So you will have too much of data.
Yeah.
But the data doesn't talk by itself. You know, the model that you choose to deploy on the data will give you different results, you know, etc. That's what I said, ki you need to understand the model. So you still need to be intelligent on what the AI is thinking, and how the AI is designed, or how the logical, you know, model is designed for you to think what to do with it.
Yeah.
You know, the logic.
Yeah. So Rahul, Microsoft is one of the, in fact, the leading security capability provider. Means many people don't know about it basically. So way it has until now, and the kind of operations that we do in security is a planetary level applications, and Microsoft does provide that basically. From now to next 3 years basically, right? If you have to really see from the perspective of the future scale, how do you see the security as a discipline is going to change, and what it will bring to the table, and how should we prepare for that?
I think if I speak from a near future perspective, AI or Copilot is something that is just around the corner. And it's just amazing to see that it's not just the capability but the imagination also coming in.
Yeah.
From the people who are protecting the data, from protecting the infrastructure within the company, and how it's kind of coming together. I have seen a couple of demos of security Copilot that we have, and how it brings out, or you know, helps you to respond faster, but also be preemptive about what could go wrong, where it is kind of working on. And then for the person who's actually managing it, the IT professional at the end of it, how does it empower them to take actions immediately, can go into the deep of the things. Not only that, can also give what we call as the proof of execution towards the end to the people who probably don't understand security. In terms of saying that, okay, hey, if you've invested so much in security, this is the output. By the end of the month, these are the number of attacks you've stopped. This were the sources. These were the bad actors. This is how you can work on that. And by the way, you can make a presentation out of it as well.
Yeah, the securities would become more explainable, because currently it's not that explainable. Many times board member or senior management struggle to understand what exactly you're trying to do in security, and so that would be possible because of these kind of technologies that are in
And
place.
if you put a dollar value against each threat you saved,
Yeah.
you can actually take the monetary value of ROI as well, in terms of what are the savings that you've got for the...
So we say this as a science of cyber risk quantification, which is evolving in such a way that it can really help you to really quantify things in more scientific and mathematical way, basically. So Amit, coming to you, right? So at network, the volume and velocity at which data is flowing would be quite significantly already increasing, and it will increase quite significantly in coming 4 or 5 years of time, basically. And network has a role to play or lend capability to security, basically. So how do you see from the network and security coming together, and they will provide a lot of those possibilities in the coming future?
I think that's most of the things. I think we today transport almost 80% of the internet traffic, if you look at that, right? So I think it's been in our DNA always to look at security on top of network. That was always there. But then the moment it scales beyond a certain point, right, then comes the question is that how do you operate it, right? It's not a human task to manage this kind of data across, you know, billions of points.
Yeah.
You know, we have a threat intel called Talos that we operate, some about 500, 600 researchers who typically provide you the global threat intel, right? And it's about billions of gigabytes of data that we actually process in a day, right? But that needs a lot of AI capabilities plus human intelligence on top of it. Beyond that, what we are doing today is that anyways, we are spending heavily on securing each and every points in the network, right? Whether, I mean, we used to known as a network company for 30 years back, right? And that's not the case anymore, right? It's been too diversified. And I think if you look at the industry TAM, everybody's under security. Cyber security has got the largest industry TAM today across the globe. And everybody's under those dollars. So we are investing heavily on that. I think if you have heard about our largest acquisition recently was Splunk.
Yeah.
So it's yet to be, I mean, it's just an intent to acquire, but I mean, that's going to add a lot of value in terms of our offering where we talk about not only security, but also on a day-to-day observability of how the entire system is running. But I think that will also generate a lot of different types of skill sets that will require for a person who has been running a network for 10 years to run a environment which will really look more towards a NetSecOps rather than just NetOps. Right?
Yeah.
I think that's where we are heading towards.
Yeah. So security is more like a data science operation nowadays, money. And then now on top of it now, quantum would also play a very significant role. So how do you see, at one hand, there's a data operations basically, right? And there is a ability, I mean, for example, some like Cisco or Microsoft, they have installation all across globe and that throws data and then they try to process at a planetary level data and then try to understand a possible issue gap in that basically, right? This is one hand. On the other hand, we also see the way the quantum computing will be changing the scenario. So from the AI, ML and quantum capability coming together, how things will change for security?
Well, I think, it's going to drastically change the way we have current things, particularly in a security aspect. When quantum is going to be having, in its, the way we are seeing it now, the way it really becomes something which is more in use. So obviously before that happens, security is one thing which is going to get a phenomenal change. And we have seen that, right? When we see a few years back, there was this, people were talking about how to, crack the SHA algorithm, right? The earlier ones, right? And once quantum comes into play, all of this will really go away and we'll have new set of algorithms to come in which are more capable of really providing about the security piece. So, and there's a lot of research right now going on. India is one of the, leaders in that space, both in academia as well as industry also. We see a lot of momentum in that space already happening. And yes, along with AI, this is really going to be I think a major game changer because AI is really going to sit on top of all of this as we go further, helping both industry as well as I think, academia also, the way they do the research in terms of putting all of these pieces together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So coming to Hasid, so your role is to bring all that together to deliver to value to the client and the clients, especially the security market ecosystem is quite significantly rising basically, right? So how do you really amalgamate all of this capability together to deliver the value?
So few things are happening. While earlier I talked about the newer kind of attacks would be emerging. But at the same time, if you see today's network operations, security operations or infrastructure operations are happening on legacy application infrastructure, which was developed 30, 40, 50 years back, when the security was not even a concern because it was in corporate network, nothing was going out, cloud was not there, WAN was not there, internet was not there. So it was not designed for the external threat. I think whatever number of lines of code which will create in next 10 years is equal to the number of lines of code we would have created last 50 years. So the fresh code will be more secured. That is first positive signal which we have, that potentially, because we know that now that data is out and roaming everywhere kind of thing, I think that gives us the insight and everything is connected. So we'll be more designing the code better kind of thing. Because we are aware of some of the threats which our predecessors were not aware 50 years down the line. So that is one positive aspect is there. Second is that I think there's always a problem is that monitoring, because most of the service company does the monitoring and the remediations, correct, which is SOP driven. Now, take an example of in a housing society. I think you are staying in some housing society which meeting happens for CCTV installation, correct? 5 camera, 10 camera, 50 camera in the lift also, camera in lobby also, camera in every parking also. And debate happens that we can install the CCTV camera, but who will monitor, correct? And that's the real challenge, because you can instrument things, but there are not enough manpower in the world on this planet Earth to monitor each of these things. And that's where the AI comes into picture, correct? So we had a problem, but now we have a solution also, because AI can monitor. So humans are no more the limitation to monitor a camera. And that is the bandwidth we can pass it to the technology, and human can do more thinking, hypothesis-driven attack prevention, correct? Which earlier panel says that hypothesis skill creation will be more critical. So think like a criminal, correct? So I think in Bollywood movies you will see police wala bolega कि ने, excuse me for using Hindi, कि ने अगर चोर को पकड़ना है तो चोर जैसा सोचना चालू करा. So it's similarly, I think the hypothesis creation of the how an attacker thinks, correct? He doesn't think and okay, this is the open door and I will attack. He will just roam around here and there for 1 month and then 2 months and 3 months and then suddenly one day attack kind of thing, correct? Similarly, anti-money laundering and all those things, shell company gets created, money gets passed from one place to other place and all those things happens, correct? So now a human being has to think and create a hypothesis that how an attacker is thinking and thus provide prevention. So because the operations and monitoring job is taken care by the machine. So it is a luxury to think and create a newer hypothesis. That is one aspect which will be very predominantly developed in most of the IT service company and thus to make a world safer. So that is, the technology is helping us in a big manner, AI especially. Other thing I think we go to basic. I think if your grandparents were, whatever, there was no blockers and banking system, correct? The wealth was, कोई जमीन में डाल देता था, somebody will put in parents के brother को देने, they'll distribute the wealth, they'll put it in not one place, correct? And that's what blockchain-based security talks about, correct? Distributed data systems. You don't put data in one place, but once you reach to one set of data, you know the connections. So it's like your wealth, some 500 rupees is lying in under the bed kind of thing, 500 rupees lying in your father's brother's house. Somewhere. That's how the wealth used to be protected in past, distribution of wealth. And that's how the distributed data system will ensure that even protection attack happens, damages are less. So I think the blockchain and AI technology will driving the protection aspect very well, and thus human can focus on creating new hypotheses to protect the attacks as well.
Yeah, thank you, Vasid, and I'm sure we are also ending the time of this session because I'm just mindful of that time. So really thank Manish, Vasid, Amitwa, Mani, and Rahul to really help us dwell into the subject of security and emerging technology and what kind of challenges they throw, but at the same time, kind of opportunity it is creating and how individually each of those organizations had been trying to do to solve this problem. Thank you. Please join me to give a big hand to my panelists here to help us dwell into this. Thank you, Rahul, Amitwa, Mani, Manish, and Hasid. Thank you.
Our sincere thanks to all for an extremely informative and thought-provoking session. We would now like to felicitate our esteemed guests on the dais, and I would request Shri Shubhangshu Tiwari, ED NIELIT, to kindly come forward and do the honors. First, we would like to felicitate the moderator, Shri Vinaya Godse, CEO, Data Security Council of India, DSCI. Thank you. We would now felicitate Hasid G. Trivedi, CTO, Digital Technologies and Global Head, AI Tech Mahindra. Thank you. We would now felicitate Dr. Mani Madhukar, Program Lead, IBM. Thank you. We would now felicitate Rahul Datta, Country Director, Marketing, Microsoft India. Thank you. We would now felicitate Amitava Guha Thakurta, Leader, Systems Engineering, Cisco. Thank you. And now we will felicitate Manish Kumar, founder and CEO, RealX and Gregs. Thank you so much. I'd now request our esteemed guests on the dais to kindly step forward for a group photograph. Thank you all once again. I request you all to kindly take your seats in the auditorium. Ladies and gentlemen, we would now move to the fourth session of Digital India Future Skills Summit 2024. The topic for this session is Digital Skilling India's Talent for Global Workforce. The session will be moderated by Shri Anurag Mazumdar, co-founder, The Logical Indian, and the panelists include Dr. Dennis Hu, President, Foundation for Commerce and Culture Interchange, FCCI, Taiwan, who would be joining us virtually, Shri Arvind Shetty, VP Global Development and Engineering, Kyndryl, Dr. CVS Kiran, VP R&D and Program Lead, Skyroot Aerospace, Shri Vikram Shah, CTO, Internshala, and Shri Abhishek Sharma, Founder, Uniques Technologies. I request Shri Anurag Majumdar along with our presenters to kindly come forward and take the seats on the dais. Thank you so much. I'll now hand over the session to Shri Anurag Majumdar. On to you, sir.
Good evening, people. It feels really good to be in Assam, second home. I wish the auditorium was filled, but anyway. I will be rushing because my co-panelist, Dr. Kiran, will be catching the flight in a while. So I think a lot has been said over the day about setting the context about the digital skilling, the gaps, the need, and India's trajectory to have a global dominance on the digital landscape. So particularly in this session with the esteemed panel, we would like to break down the gaps and then touch upon the need and we'll dig deep into the stakeholder engagement that is needed. But precisely, we will be talking about the gaps in the system currently. And as I would like to say, before achieving a something great, something incredible, you have to cover a distance. You have to fill those gaps. So we should be talking about the gaps. And on that front, I have my first question for Dr. Kiran. So a key gap often highlighted is the pace of change in digital skilling landscape, which is currently pretty slow and not adequate to equip the millions entering the workforce right now. So can you tell us about the bottlenecks from your point of view? What do you think are the bottlenecks? And what kind of policy level changes and interventions at an institutional level can be introduced to significantly accelerate the pace across the whole country? Would you like to, yeah?
At the outset, I would like to thank the organizers for giving us this opportunity. So it's indeed a pleasure to be as part of this panel, especially towards upskilling part of the entire ecosystem. So when we look at the perspective from the deep tech sector, so Skyroot Aerospace, where I represent today, is India's first private launch vehicle development company, where we have launched the first rocket into space on 18th November 2022, making history in India as the first private company to launch from South Asia successfully. So when we look at the entire ecosystem of all the students who are coming out of the colleges, as today morning we have been seeing all the various discussions on AI and cybersecurity aspects. One major point what we look is the passion in the students especially. And this needs to be inculcated in terms of the interaction between academia and academia industry relations. So for example, when any student who is doing his or her college studies is going to come out into flying colors at the end of the course, it need not be always the fact that it is industry ready. So what we see is most of the students are not yet industry ready. The main reason for all these activity that the students are not ready is that the projects or the topics in which the students are working on are still based out of textbook-based activities, but not rather what the industry needs. Getting onto a point where the students say, I'm working on a live project, there are tons and tons of problems what the students can identify themselves, which motivate them as well as which are very much relevant to the industry. So these things have to be brought out rather than giving the students themselves a topic which is there. So this is one of the most important points where we can develop rapidly the entire ecosystem. So this also involves educating the teachers basically to a point where the industry is. So these are some of the aspects which I think will boost significantly the way in which the ecosystem develops. So now we also have AI, which is coming up a lot, AI and ML. So how do we incorporate these aspects from the perspective of a deep tech or an application level? What are the possibilities of incorporating these to ease or to release the mundane activities? So these are some of the ways in which we could enhance the thought process in which students can come out. So these is some points which I think would address your question, what you have asked for. But if you look at, despite these activities, when the students come out, what we notice is that the passion and the obsession is still not up to the mark. So until that point where the self-realization in the individual has to come up to the point, yes, I am passionate and obsessed with that field. So no industry would, typically look forward to take them. Or rather the other way, industry needs such people.
Very interesting. So do you also think that the intervention, the awareness, the orientation should also start at a K-12 level, early from the school, or it should what's the right age? When should we nudge them, and when should we bring them closer to the entire
The education system in which we have been brought up in the country is very strong, where homework has been given huge amount of importance. The day we stop doing the homework, we are half knowledge. Basically, we do not know what is the situation. And that education level is quite robust with the new policy which is making it further better. But incorporating new subjects to this is definitely an add-on, but not at the cost of removing the basics. Basics always play the critical role in development of the individual as a whole. I think most of the audience agree to that aspect as well.
Thank you so much. I think this is an area where we all must have to dwell. And while it's evident that yes, more needs to be done, to fill those gaps at a school and college level and trying to bring them very close, and not just the technical skill, but I think something which I often advocate for is a 360-degree life skill, which doesn't just make them industry ready, but make them navigate the next decade in their professional setup very, very seamlessly. As I say that, there's nothing called professional life and personal life. If you're not able to navigate your personal life properly, it's going to affect your professional setup. Same, if you're facing any difficulty in your professional setup, I think you will face difficulty in your personal life as well. So this particular age group, along with the hardcore digital skills, I think it's my opinion, and I would like to hear your opinion as well, Dr. Arvind, regarding the definition of skilling. What all should comprise of this skilling when we say that we are trying to fill the gaps and making them future ready. So digital is certainly one, but what else can be complemented, or should it even be complemented with some added elements? Would you like to throw some light on that?
So I'll start by saying that skills have been evolving over the time I have been in computer science. So when I started in computer science, I was the machine on which I was programming is now in the first floor of Vishvesvaraya Museum. The only reason I am not in that museum is because I skilled and changed my skills over time. And so hence skills have been evolving, and skills has been a need for, at least in my career, 30 years now. What has, apart from my own talent and skill, what has stayed me steadfast is what I studied in my schools and colleges. The foundation of computer science, foundation of understanding how systems work and what it needs to make them work is as important as the skill required to deliver a certain outcome for our customers. And unless we give that foundation the necessary importance, our ability to scale in the changing world of technology, and you saw this in various panels today, that technology has evolved over the years. In this changing world of technology, one has to move and shift from one to another to become proficient in that and scale from there. And the challenges of businesses are changing on a regular basis. So learning skill is as important. How do I learn and pick up new capabilities as important as a soft skill? A process of learning is as important. That process of learning, Kiran alluded to that. You actually learn through working out the problems at home, trying to learn soft skills about eliciting information. In the process of elicitation, you learn new skills. And interpersonal, meaning learning by sitting behind somebody who knows